Hello and welcome to Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. This is Stefan, your host, British by birth, American by choice. The Founding Fathers crafted some remarkable documents that led to the creation of a great country founded on liberty and self-reliance. I have lived in the Euro-socialist nightmare, and I'm doing what I can to return this country to the vision that the Founding Fathers gave us. We need to strive to rebuild that shining city on the hill, for without us, the world has nowhere to turn for freedom. For the next hour, I will be presenting news, views, and guests that help keep the true spirit of America alive. And good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're listening to the show. This is Stefan, your Patriot Come Lately. Welcome you to episode 351, or as I've been calling them, Countdown number 4. Yes, Countdown number 4. That means tonight is the first in the last of 4 shows. Whoa, it's been a while. It's been a wild ride, and we're slowly getting to the end. There is another special thing about tonight as well. Almost to the day, and to be honest, I haven't gone back to see exactly what day it was, but I know 7 years ago, the first Tuesday of the year was when I first started Patrick Come Lately. So that's why I said birthday today. 7 years. If there hadn't have been a leap year, I would have said it probably be on the same exact same day, but probably a day earlier or a day later. It's not exactly my birthday, but or the show's birthday, I should say, not mine. But anyway, if you'd have told me 7 years ago that I was going to be doing this for 7 years, I would have been surprised. So it's, like I said, it's been a fun ride, and but it's a little bittersweet that we are getting towards the end, but we've got plenty of things to talk about. And first of all, what I do want to say is I want to say hi to to the bunch of listeners in the chat room, my regular listeners, my loyal listeners. Really appreciate you coming in. Paul and Rex are there, or Edward as he's officially known, and Mary as well. Thanks for coming, all of you. Mary immediately put the question, are you sure you want to quit? You sound just like Mad Max David. He's been betting that it'll be around about July and I'll be back on the air. I don't think so, not that soon. But if the opportunity came up, who knows, maybe. But anyway, let's not, like I said, in the description on Spreaker of the show, I said no sadness tonight. So I want to start off by wishing everybody again a marvelous 2017. I hope that everybody had a good New Year's celebration. I did. My wife was actually down in Florida visiting with friends. And so I had dinner with friends here, and we drank some beer and some wine, probably a little bit too much of that, so my New Year's Day was very quiet, shall we say. But I hope everybody had a good one as well. Now, I want to get into things. Let's get straight into things. Like I said, all the reminiscing, etc. I don't want to do that. So just before the end of last year, I was I was required to follow some HR managers training. You know, the sort of stuff that big companies have, you know, anti-discrimination, anti-harassment, this, that, and the other. It was about, was probably a good 2 days worth of training, not, maybe not quite contiguous, but it was so boring you couldn't do it all straight through, and then there were quizzes that you had to do to pass and document to show that you'd done it. And in this case, it was actually relevant for Canada, specifically the province of Ontario, because I have a Canadian person in my span of managerial responsibility. Now, as you can imagine, our neighbours to the north, the statutory requirements are even more comprehensive than the American ones. It took me about, as I said, 8 hours to go through all the courses and take the exams. But while I was doing that, I have to admit, occasionally my mind was wandering, and I did some of the thinking. And one of the courses, the thing they talked, for about 10, 15 minutes about, was the duty to accommodate. So it had all these things about, not harassing, not discriminating. But one of the things was everybody has a duty to accommodate. Now, the examples they used were fairly obvious, things like having ramps and other things for people with disabilities. But the Canadians also included things like being able to use bathrooms according to gender identity, etc. So, it's kind of an obvious thing you'd expect in something like that. But another key pillar in these pillars of this anti-discrimination thing was creed, and they were very strong on the fact that you cannot be discriminated against on basis of your beliefs. So, sort of where this duty to accommodate and creed. And I came up with this suggestion, which will probably have liberals spurting blood out of their ears. But if we have to accommodate someone who feels that they are a different sex than how they were born, should not gay people accommodate a baker or a florist whose beliefs prevent them from participating in certain events? That, to me, seems quite logical. In all of the documented cases here in the US, the person who was providing the service, the baker or the florist, did not actually discriminate against the people in question. In the few cases I've looked at, they were very clear about providing flowers or confectionery or cakes to those people for non-events, just if they came into the shop to buy something. But they did say, because of their beliefs, because of their creed, they did not want to support the event. And so, the event, in most cases being a wedding ceremony, which the baker or the florist said they couldn't do because of their creed, because of their beliefs. Now, the left is never going to describe it that way, but I put it forward to my listeners to think about it. If you agree, take the idea and put it out on social media. On the other hand, who knows, maybe the Ontario Human Rights Commission will now come after me for such a discriminatory statement and force me to undergo more sensitivity training. I want to just mention to those folks that hadn't noticed, but I have set up a Facebook Live show. And I notice my wife is watching as well. She's normally asleep at this time of night, but I think she's watching the show. And anybody else watching, thanks for coming on Facebook Live. Just something a little different for these last few shows. Okay, folks. And for the people on Facebook Live, you're going to miss some of these little musical notes that I put in between the topics. But next topic now, presidential inauguration. And guess what? After a lot of question marks and a lot of different yeses and nos, apparently all the living presidents are going to be able to attend the inauguration and have said that they will attend the inauguration, except George H.W., because he's obviously not doing very well, and so it would be too much of a strain for him. But the Bushes, the Clintons, and of course the Obamas will be there. So at least they have taken a respectful and a classy stance and not done what so many other people are doing, politicizing this inauguration. The inauguration is supposed to be something that brings the country together, not tears it apart. And so what about that big concert they're trying to arrange in Miami on the inauguration day to basically to compete with Donald Trump's event? Sore losers. That's all they are, and more fool them. But it's not the way we used to do things, and I think after Donald Trump's been in for 4 years, it's not the way we're going to continue to do things, because by then people will have seen that he will work, he will deal with everybody, and he will represent everybody in America. And, things are starting to move in the right direction. But it's nice that the presidents will be there, and perhaps this will convince a number of other people to kind of stop their stupid opposition and come to the inauguration. Now, we don't need that many people there, and as I mentioned before, I'm hoping to be going up there myself, but we don't need that many people up there because Donald Trump has put the knife into the inauguration and has reduced the spending significantly. Instead of a 6-hour parade, he's going to have a 1-hour inaugural parade. Instead of, I think, in the last inauguration there were 10 inaugural balls. There are only going to be 3, and I think there's a 4th one which is for military personnel only. So definitely reducing all the money spent. Also, lobbyists are not allowed to contribute to any of the inaugural events. That is really good. And so it's going to be fun. And as I've mentioned on the show before, my last show will be on the Tuesday after the inauguration. And I want to bring back my impressions, my, what I saw went on there. Hopefully, it's going to be one big fun party. I know there are people who are trying to organize even on the day counter demonstrations in Washington D.C. And then there are people like the bikers who are going to counter the counter demonstrations. I mean, it's. I think everything's going to be okay. I think it's going to be fun. I will try and bring some recordings back. And just let you know how it went and what it was like to attend something like that. Sort of something on the bucket list, and now we go. And in case you haven't got it going yourself, I have a little thing called the tick counter on my computer, and it tells me it's 16 days, 12 hours, 43 minutes, and 48 seconds. Right now, on the way to Obama leaving office, right? And that happens at 12 noon on the 20th, Friday the 20th. So 16 days, 12 hours, 43 minutes to go, folks. counting down on that as well. Okay, now another topic here, but and I was going to say time for a commercial, but today no more commercials. The rest of the shows will all be commercial free, especially for Mary. And let's go on with the next topic. And the next topic is good news. As you know, the opening of the current Congress was done this week. Was done basically yesterday and today. But the swearing in of all of our representatives and senators, etc., was happening, and then they got down to work. And the Republicans have introduced the Obamacare repeal. And they've done it in such a way that it cannot be filibustered by the Democrats. Now, the Democrats are supposedly meeting tomorrow. So the swearing in must have been today, because yesterday was a public holiday, so it was today. And already the Republicans have introduced the repeal, so they really are moving. And what they've done, they've included it in the budget resolution for 2017. The good news about that is by putting it in the budget resolution, Democrats cannot filibuster it. Budget resolutions are not subject to the filibuster rule in the Senate. So that's definitely good news. And House Speaker Paul Ryan released a statement after the resolution was introduced in the Senate. This is the first step towards relief for Americans struggling under Obamacare. This resolution sets the stage for repeal, followed by a stable transition to a better healthcare system. Our goal is to ensure that patients will be in control of their healthcare and have greater access to quality and affordable coverage. Today we begin to deliver on our promise to the American people. Wow, the Republicans are actually doing something that they said they would. Isn't that amazing? So the train is finally moving forward. So what are the details? Well, hang on a moment. I just got to have a quick cough. And what are those steps? Well, first of all, there is a repeal resolution. And as was mentioned, that's a simple budget resolution that will set the stage for repeal and a stable transition period. And this is what's very clever that the Republicans are doing, a stable transition period. They're not going to repeal everything and then leave everybody hanging. Now, this repeal resolution will include what are called reconciliation instructions. In short, reconciliation is a tool that allows designated committees to produce legislation that can later be passed with a simple majority in the Senate, which is very clever because that's exactly how the Democrats forced Obamacare down our throat, using it in the budget and doing it through reconciliation. To get to this reconciliation tool, however, the House and Senate must first both pass this repeal resolution. But because in the Senate it's part of the budget, only needs a simple majority. And of course we have the majority in the House, so it's no problem. And in the Senate we don't have a supermajority, but not needed because there's no filibustering a budget. Once the two houses have passed that part of this process, then we move into the reconciliation process. So what's going to happen then? That the House and the Senate and committees within those two parts of Congress are going to produce actual legislation to repeal the parts of Obamacare in their jurisdiction. So the different committees will put things together. There'll be the Finance Committee, there'll be the Health and Human Services, all the different committees, and they will produce legislation and pass it on their pieces. They will be sent to the Budget Committee itself, which will combine all of those different pieces of text about the different areas that the committees are responsible for into one complete, straightforward piece of legislation that will repeal Obamacare. And after the Budget Committee approves and passes the bill, it is ready for consideration by the full House. And once it's passed by the House, the reconciliation package will then be considered under expedited procedures through the Senate and then delivered to the President's desk for signature into law. So this isn't going to take a huge amount of time to do, folks. Then again, it's not going to happen overnight, but the main thing will be that House and Senate pass the initial repeal part. That's going to be very important. So it's going to go through this two-step process. First, the budget resolution, then a reconciliation bill, and the GOP, remember, is emphasizing there will be a stable transition period to ensure no one has the rug pulled from under them as we get onto the path to a better way for your healthcare. Lower costs, more choices, more control. Now, I was listening, and on the radio there was an interesting interview with someone who is advocating a lot more transparency in our healthcare system. And his argument was very clear. Think about it, folks. And, if you've ever been to the hospital, if you go and ask how much something is going to cost you, or how much it's going to cost, maybe not you, maybe your insurance, but the first question they ask you is, well, what insurance do you have? Because one of the things is, and the person that was being interviewed on the radio said, this is very strange. Could you imagine going in to a supermarket and buying a can of beans for $1, and then someone else comes in, but because they've got some other connection, they pay 90 cents for it, or $1.50. Isn't that strange? That only happens in the healthcare industry. So what he's advocating for is a lot more transparency, and it makes a lot of sense. He's advocating for a lot more transparency in the healthcare. And basically what he's saying what should happen is insurance companies should act like insurance companies. We should go out and negotiate our own costs. Go and find the cheapest hospital. Go and find the cheapest doctor. And then we go have our operation, and then the insurance pays for it. In a lot of countries outside of America, a lot of the time you have to front it yourself. Although I'm sure for very expensive operations, could arrange to have kind of a pre-approval, like a mortgage, and then just say, okay, yes, we approve that amount, and then off you go, and we'll pay it. Get a letter from the insurance, give it to the doctor, and he goes ahead with it. But for smaller stuff, a lot of the time, it's on a reimbursement basis. So you understand what you're paying, and you also understand what the value is if you go to the doctor and ask, okay, how much is this? Or you go online and find out which doctor is actually giving you the best price for that particular procedure. That makes sense. And there's a very good example even here in America. Think about LASIK surgery, right, for your eyes. LASIK surgery, when it first came in, cost an arm and a leg. But it's not something that is normally done under the insurance. So it's not done through the normal process. So it's basically something you go out and arrange for yourself and pay for yourself. And guess what happened? in a very short space of time, the price of LASIK surgery dropped dramatically. Why? Because people were competing, the free market was competing, and down the prices went. And that's what this person that was being interviewed, I didn't catch his name unfortunately, but it was a very interesting discussion, was saying could happen with the rest of healthcare costs. And we're always complaining about healthcare costs going up. And he just said, competition would help. And Mary said doctors would charge less if the insurance wouldn't. Well, a lot of the time, doctors right now can't charge less. He gave interviewee gave an example. If you're just out of medical school and you set up in practice, you're not allowed to sort of say, okay, I'm going to give a special on whatever it is, whatever procedure is that I normally do, because I want to build up a practice. I want to have some people coming. So instead of charging, $2,000 for whatever, I'm going to do it for $1,500. But they're not allowed to do that. The insurance companies would go bananas. Why would the insurance companies go bananas if you're charging less? But so be it. And also Medicare, Medicaid. There are very strict rules. If you're offering a lower price than they reimburse you for, they're not going to reimburse you. It's not that they don't give you the money; they just won't reimburse you. Well, I mean, that's ridiculous. So those sort of things, that may be the direction that we go in. Now, will the Trump administration go down there? We're going to have to wait and see. But the good news is they have started on the repeal. They have kept to their promise. And that's one of the things that makes me happy to say I'm leaving America in good hands, because things may be happening. And that's not all, as they like to say on the infomercials. So it isn't just Obamacare, but apparently the Trump transition teams have also started developing plans to build a wall. Apparently, they have been putting questions to DHS, Department of Homeland Security, to report how much money is available to build a border wall and to provide other key information to implementing Donald Trump's immigration plans. So these are some things that have now been leaked because they actually happened in October, and the meeting, early December, so not that long ago, about 4 weeks now, a meeting of the transition team with DHS officials asking questions about securing the border, about deporting illegal immigrants, and also about reversing President Obama's executive orders on immigration. So, in addition to requesting an assessment of resources available for barrier construction on the border, the transition team asked the agency whether it could expand temporary immigration detention facilities, and about a popular border surveillance program that was scaled back under Obama. The transition team also asked whether DHS had altered immigrant records for any reason, including out of civil rights concerns. Can you think where this is going? Including out of civil rights concerns likely to determine whether Obama is trying to protect some of them from deportation. As part of the 2012 executive order that we all know as DACA, right, the Dreamers thing, where millions of young illegal immigrants were granted temporary legal status, applicants had to provide the government with their names and addresses. More than 1 million who applied are therefore possibly at risk of being deported under the Trump administration. If he reverses Obama's order, which he's promised to do, then he could use the list to locate and deport them. The transition team also asked DHS for copies of every executive order and every direction Obama issued since he took office. So any secret ones that he may have issued, they're supposed to cough those up as well. Now, apparently DHS has already identified 413 miles along the southern border where new fencing could be constructed in response to their request. They also claim that it would be about $11 billion to build a barrier to prevent both vehicles and people from crossing the border. Trump himself said $8 to $12 billion, but he said he will make a real wall, not just a fence made of precast concrete that actually looks good and will be a lot heavier. And he will have, as he continues to say, Mexico pay for that. So, folks, things are really underway. Hard to believe. Well, we are almost there, and probably I'm going to play this song in the last show, but it'll be kind of a few days overdue. So I'm going to play it now as well. I need to take a break. My throat's a little dry. I'm going to take a sip of my beer. I have a historical beer, a recipe from 1870. This is beer that was brewed in England for shipping down to Australia. Beer freaks will know the story about IPA and being shipped out to India, etc. Well, there are other beers that were shipped out to that part of the world that belie that story, and this Australian one is another one because it's not as nowhere near as hoppy as an IPA. But we'll enjoy it anyway. But in the meanwhile, I think I need to mute the microphone, so I'm going to give you some music while I do that. And apologies to those of you on Facebook Live. You'll just have to watch. You won't be able to hear the song. You'll just have to watch me drink my beer.
You promised us hope and change. Got no hope. Bush got blamed. Calling down the foreign kings. They don't need apologies. Jobs are gone. Gas is high. Rich vacations make us cry. Obama, you failed us. You're fired. They laugh at us far and wide, but we are here to set it right. Had your fun, done us wrong. Now we vote to send you home. Take your home, keep your change. All you do is give us pain. Obama, you failed us. You're fired. Like a lone ranger, we're hip to your game. Not afraid of the danger. We don't give a dang. Fearless crusaders, we got pride. Obama, you failed us. You're fired. Yeah. You buy your votes, make new rules, but we the people won't be fooled. We're on to you, media too. Compromise will never do. Had enough sacred cows. Your days in power numbered now. Obama, you failed us. You're fired. Like a lone ranger, we're hip to your game. Not afraid of the danger. We don't give a dang. Fearless crusaders, we got pride. Obama, you failed us. You're fired. So break out that suitcase. Pack up those fruitcakes. Obama, you failed us. You're fired. Obama, you failed us. You're fired. Goodbye.
Okay, folks, that was Bruce Ballot. Look him up. I think he's on iTunes. Look him up on the internet. That's Bruce and then Bellot. A lot of good songs. What I call the kind of the Tea Party type songs. He was, had a number of songs, and this is a good one. Like I said, it's become timely. We'd hoped it might have applied a little earlier, I guess, but so it is. So, for those of you that are not in the chat room but have questions or comments about the show, I would like to say you can reach me at stefan@patrickcomelately.us. That URL, actually, patrickcomelately.us, will remain after the show ends. Obviously, I have the archives out there. So if you want to listen to past shows, but as I said before, we're now at just a little bit over three and a half to go, because we've just passed the halfway mark on the show. However, like I said, no sadness tonight. We're going to continue with a new topic. And this new topic is called the suicide of Germany. And I wanted to bring this up because I've mentioned in recent shows, even though we had a great victory and we've got someone now who's, while he may not be a very strict conservative, is definitely going to do things very differently, and I really do believe he will make America a lot better than it has been. But the left is going to continue to snipe, and we've seen that with all these things about people who are basically, refusing to attend the inauguration, setting up counter events, setting up demonstrations during the inauguration or immediately afterwards. I mean, just, sore losers. And they're going to continue to be sore losers throughout the 4 or even 8 years that Trump's administration is working to make America great again. And remember, some of the things that Obama was trying to institute, right, bringing in all these Middle Eastern immigrants, the so-called refugees. Well, what did they do to Germany? That's why I call this section the suicide of Germany. So apparently, I haven't been able to confirm these figures. This is just one source. Often I do try more, to do more. So it might be false news, but according to this site, of the 1.2 million immigrants who arrived in Germany in the last few years, only 34,000 have actually found work. Now, one of the reasons that Germany said, we want to bring these people in, was because they wanted people to work in their factories. But if they've got 1.2 million arrived and only 34,000, then that means the rest are living off welfare. That is not good. Oh, and excuse me, a little editorial note here. In answer to the folks in the chat room, Rex and Mary, yes, I think we will. I will definitely have my beer at my end, so I don't know what you guys will be drinking. Oh, I know, Rex will be on his 7 and 7. Don't know what Mary drinks, but I will definitely have one of my beers here. Anyway, so only 34,000 out of the 1.2 million. That means a lot are still on welfare. Now, of course, they had that horrific attack at the Christmas market in Berlin, and Angela Merkel is now starting to sing a different song because she suddenly realized, with elections coming up, people don't want her because of what she did to Germany. So she went down and laid some flowers, white roses, at the scene of the attack. Thousands of Germans have been doing the same thing. But in spite of sort of saying, well, we've got to fight terrorism, they haven't really done anything. And the German people are seeing that. So after Brexit, after the Trump vote, expect some surprises in Germany. And also, who knows, in the Netherlands. Just to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but as you know, I do have a Dutch background. My wife is Dutch. In the Netherlands, the leader of the Nationalist Party, a guy called Geert Wilders, who is fairly extreme, so much so that I believe he is not allowed to visit America anymore. The Obama regime shut him out. But his party is actually leading in all the polls, because in the Netherlands they're fed up with it as well. So there are going to be some surprises in Europe. And Geert Wilders is known because he's always been very vocal about the danger of radical Islam. And he's even been taken to court, and the courts actually said, no, he's not saying anything inflammatory. He may not like what he's saying, but he's not being inflammatory, and he got off scot-free, which was very interesting. Anyway, so what else in Germany? Well, I mentioned a while back there was a 19-year-old girl who was working with migrants into Germany, and she was murdered by some of those migrants. And not just murdered, but also raped before she was killed. But guess what? Her family asked anyone who wanted to pay tribute to their daughter to give money to refugee associations so that more refugees could come to Germany. Are these people nuts? It's unbelievable. This is what I'm saying, the suicide of Germany. I think Germans have such a guilt complex about the Holocaust that they've the pendulum has swung totally in the other direction. And because of the Holocaust, the Germans have fairly strict laws about incitement of hatred. These laws were put in place to prevent a return of Nazi-style ideas. But these are being used against people. Anyone who speaks about Islam in a negative way, these laws are being used against them as, again, also saying that they incite hatred. So, most Germans are sticking their heads in the sand, much like they did in the 30s when Hitler came to power. Right? This time it's an outside enemy. That time it was an inside enemy. But this outside enemy has declared war on them. Hitler was trying to make Germany strong, and the people just ignored him primarily. They just looked at the good things and ignored the bad things. Here we have the bad things have declared war on the country where they're taking place. And Germany, they just accept defeat, and they do whatever the jihadists really want them to do. They are submitting. Now, finally, think about it. Angela Merkel and the Germans, if they don't see the difference between the Nazis exterminating Jews and Muslims threatening to exterminate Christian Jews and other Muslims, and not just threatening, but doing it, are they really that clueless? Are they really sticking their heads in the sand that much? Unbelievable. And the reason I bring up this topic, folks, is because we have to be vigilant. Because the left will be trying to get back into power. Will be trying to bring those policies like Angela Merkel's. The left, the New World Order, whatever you want, the progressives, whatever you want to call them, they are going to continue to fight. We have to be vigilant. We have to watch. Because if we're not careful, we're going to be caught in that. Okay. How are we doing for time? Of course, no breaks for commercials, so we're going on. want to have a little bit of a laugh. This topic's called medical progress. A doctor from France stood up and said, in France, the medicine is so advanced, we cut off a man's testicles, we put them in another man, and in 6 weeks he was looking for work. The German doctor stood up and said, that's nothing. In Germany, we take part of the brain out of a person, we put it in another person's head, and in 4 weeks he is looking for work. Not to be outdone, a Russian doctor started boasting. That's nothing. In Russia, we take out half the heart from a person, we put it into another person's chest, and in 2 weeks he is out looking for work. Everybody looked around. The American doctor was sitting in a corner laughing, and he said, folks, that's nothing. You are way behind us. In the USA, already 8 years ago, we grabbed a person from Kenya with no brains, no heart, and no balls. We made him president of the United States, and now the whole damn country is looking for work. Ba-dum. Sorry about that, folks, but I thought you might like that. Okay, well, time for one last topic, and just quick reaction to some of the things going on in the chat room. They are pretty vocal tonight, and I would say to those of you to the many listeners that I have that listen to the recordings and the rebroadcasts on other networks, 3 more shows to go. See if you can join us for the next show and the last show in the chat room. And actually the one in between should be interesting, because that one is going to be a replay of my 100th show. That was kind of a interesting thing where I did a little bit of what you could call a radio play, going back to the 40s and 50s, but a little kind of a little thing like that, a look into the future it was at the time. So let's see how much I guessed right, how much I didn't, but I'm going to replay that, and that means I'll be able to spend the whole show in the chat room interacting with folks. So if, like I said, if you're listening to the recordings, if you're listening to the rebroadcast, do join me Tuesday evening, the next 3 Tuesdays, either at 11 p.m. Eastern or the other time zones, 10 Central, 9 Mountain and 8 Pacific, or wherever else you are in the world. Do join us in the chat room. I think it's fun, and your last opportunity to do that. So one or two final topics. One very quick one, something that came up, and when Donald Trump became president-elect, there were a lot of voices out on the West Coast saying, California is looking whether or not they could secede from the Union. Well, they are pretty nuts out there, and I found something. Can you believe this? And this is actually old news in some ways, but it really just goes to show how crazy California and the legislators and the ruling elites in California are. Because we know how California is one of those gun control states where they want to control everything, and some more draconian measures have been introduced as of 1st of January or signed now, and will go into effect starting now, but also over the next 6, 12, 18 months, because they need time to be introduced. So there are going to be some very serious ones. But the good news is, if you are a legislator in California, then and I think I don't know if it's all legislators or just the California Senate, but about 5 years ago they voted to exempt them from any and all gun control laws. It means senators can pack, and they can pack machine guns, they can pack pistols and rifles with magazines of 15, 20, 50, 100 bullets. All those rules that they're introducing don't apply to them. They can buy as much ammunition as they want. Just absolutely crazy. Not only that, they don't pay red light camera bills if they go through a red light camera, and they don't pay for gasoline. The state pays for that. Now, this just shows you, again, a ruling elite that has no feelings for the people that they're supposed to represent, all of the things they do. Okay, and folks, one more quick topic. The UN. And Donald Trump's already tweeted a couple of times about the UN. I have one thing that I would like to say on that subject. The US out of the UN and the UN out of the US. And if you need another reason, if you need an argument for it, let's just have a look at the list of countries that the UN just published for the 2017 Human Rights Council. Now, the Human Rights Council is an intergovernmental body within the United Nations system made up of 47 states responsible for the promotion and protection of all human rights around the globe. So there are 47 different states out of the 100 and whatever it is states. However, let's have a look at some specific states that are also part of that. Let's start with Cuba. Cuba is on that committee. Human Rights Council? The Human Rights Council should be taking Cuba to task, not putting it on their council. What about Venezuela? Venezuela's on there. What about China? Iraq? Qatar? Right? Some of these Middle East states, very, very cruel to gays, women. Burundi, Bangladesh, the United Arab Emirates, right? No political parties there, no ways to change the government. Unbelievable. And Saudi Arabia. So those 9 countries out of the 47. Now, hopefully the other 38 odd will keep them in line, but absolutely unbelievable. Well, folks, 4 is almost in the box there, so I'm getting ready to say TTFN. It will be another week, 3 shows to go. Thanks everybody who came into the chat room, and all my other listeners, thanks. Talk to you next week. Thank you for listening to the show. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's topics. Whether you listened live, to a recording, or to a rebroadcast, I appreciate the time you share with me. We need to spread the message of liberty far and wide, so please tell your friends and family about the show. Thank you for helping to keep the beacon of hope burning. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, signing off. God bless America, and remember, L3, long live liberty.